Hey everybody, and welcome to Geometry Unit 1 Day 7 Notes. If this is your first time watching with us, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like, share your comments. From time to time you'll hear me say things during the video which will help me remember or see if you even watched the video. But we're going to try and finish the Day 6 notes. You should have gotten a handout from the sub, how to construct an angle, copy an angle, and how to construct parallel lines. And then the biggest thing is how to justify it. There is a homework day 7 that I want done, and then the construction practice packet you can use will be due the day of the test. So I'm just kind of go through the homework. We talked about two parallel lines. If you know the two lines are parallel, all of these acute angles have to be the same for one reason or another. All of these obtuse angles have to be the same for one reason or another. And then any acute and any obtuse angle has to add to 180. So feel free to pause the video for any of this to see what's going on. We just tried to give you different looks of where we were. This one you had to kind of add these two together to get the 110. But the one at the bottom, I think, confused people. So our parallel lines are because we have corresponding angles that are congruent, alternate interior angles that are congruent, alternate exterior angles that are congruent, or same side interior that equal 180 and are supplementary. So in the first one, we knew that that meant that those vertical angles are the same, but we don't know anything about up here, so we can't justify that with any of the four that I just mentioned. In the second one, I know 60 and 120 makes 180, but those two are corresponding, so they should be the same, so that makes them not parallel. The one at the bottom, these two are corresponding. Remember, you could slide one angle to the other to match it up. All right. And then the last one, these were corresponding, but they did not equal each other. Okay, this is a tough problem. We're going to have one like this on our test. You had to see this and label that, making this triangle equilateral. If it's equilateral, I know all the angles are 60. And then this would have been 60, that's 120, that's 120. And then for a couple different ways you could have matched it. The person that made this saw those are corresponding. If they're the same, the lines must be parallel. For 4, 5, and 6, I like to extend the lines out so I can see the parallel lines cut by the transversal. For 4, I recognize the Z between the two parallel lines. So I labeled this as 39. And then those three angles have to add to 180. After that, the triangle has to add to 180, ending me with 44. For number 5, this is where I saw the Z, so the alternate interior angles have to be congruent. 58. And then for 6, again, here's the Z, making this 46. Vertical made that 46. And then I could start working backwards with the three angles form a line are 180 and the triangle's 180. Okay, so save this homework for next week so that I can go over it with you if you have specific questions, but we are now going to go to the handout of how to copy angle DEF onto this ray. So I want you to read the steps, and then as I explain it, hopefully they make sense. Okay, so the first thing that I do is I anchor at the vertex. And it doesn't matter how wide my compass is, I'm going to draw an arc that hits both sides of the compass, or of the angle. And I said to label these I and J. That way I had something to think about or refer to. Okay, now I'm going to take my compass, anchor it on the end of the ray, and I'm going to make that same arc. And you want to make sure that it's long enough. Some of you might want to make a full circle, but you want to make sure that it's long enough. And I said to label the intersection here K. Again, the beauty of the videos is you can pause, rewind, go back. So the hard part of this now is that I have to measure the distance between J and I with my compass. That's awkward. Okay, so I put the pencil on one of the intersections and the point or the anchor at the other. Okay, so I'm measuring that. Once I have it measured, I'm going to bring it over here to K, and I just want to cross the original arc that I made. Okay, so now I've measured the span of that angle. Now I can line up with my ruler from the vertex through that point. I said to call it L. All right, and now I know that angle DEF is the same as angle LAK. The second construction, parallel line through a point, involves the same idea. Okay, so our goal is, like, eventually we have something that looks like that. All right, and right now all that I'm looking at is right there and right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw in this transversal, and then we're going to copy this angle up to here, which will produce that parallel line. Okay, and these angles are called what if they're in the same position? Since you're thinking corresponding, I would totally agree with that. Okay, so step one says we need to draw a transversal through point P, and it doesn't really matter where it hits the line. For whatever reason, I always make mine sloping up and to the right, and they said to label this point A. Okay, and now I'm just going to follow all the steps that I did last time to copy an angle from point A up to point P. So if, you could flip back and forth, but I want to anchor my compass on A. It doesn't matter how wide I'm opening this. Again, pause it if you need to. I draw an arc that hits both sides of the angle. I go up to P, and again, I want to make sure I make this arc far enough down for my parallel line, and I want to intersect that transversal. So on the last one, this was supposed to be I, J, that was K. So now I'm going to take my compass, and I'm going to measure the distance between I to J. Sometimes this works out perfectly. Other times it does not. And I want to anchor my compass on K. Make that arc right there. We said call this line L. Okay. And now I can draw a parallel line, if it would let me, through P to L. If it's a little off, that's okay. As long as I can see those arcs, I'll be able to give you full credit. I'll tell you right now, this construction is a part of the 6-point problem on our test next week. Our test is Wednesday for 4BD and Thursday for 1AC and 2AC. Okay, and on the test, it's going to ask you to justify why this happened. Okay, and the justification is the if-then statement. So The line L, or the line I constructed is parallel to line L because I constructed congruent corresponding angles. This is the part that you want to practice writing down. If corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. And that is our justification of why they are parallel. Okay, so next, if you were in your notes, page 40, you could practice this again. So please go to your notes. If you want to pause the video and practice it again, that's fine, or rewind it. The main thing is I want you to explain why you know your line is parallel to B. Okay, I need to see those words. If the corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. You could probably word it differently, but I need that vocabulary. All right, so I want you to try and figure out if you can label 1 and 2 with algebraic expressions. I'd like you to pause the video, really pause the video and try and write it out. If you paused it, thank you, but if not, pause it right now. So they're referring to angle 2 in terms of angle 1. So I'm going to say the measure of angle 1, I'm just going to use x. So then the measure of angle 2, 15 more than 4 times angle 1. 4 times angle 1 would be 4x, and 15 more would be 4x plus 15. So now we have to determine, like, are these corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, or same side interior? They both seem to be interior, and they're on the same side. Okay, and same side interior should add to 180. So x plus 4x plus 15 should equal 180 if these lines are parallel. So I'd like you to pause and try and solve for x. So I solved and got x is 33. So the measure of angle 1 is 33. Here I would have to do 4 times 33 plus 15. And that would give me a measure of angle 2 of being 137. Okay. And the reason that these are parallel, if same side interior angles are supplementary or add up to 180, then the lines are parallel. All right, and that's the hardest thing for people to do, is to explain why they're parallel. The last thing that we're doing, or we're going to do, is explain why the 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so basically what's happening is they're saying he tore off B and C and then put them up here. Okay, so if I'm looking at this picture, angle B, angle A, and angle C should equal 180 because the 3 angles of a triangle equal 180. No. That's what we're trying to prove, because angles that form a line equal 180. Okay, and the part that's tricky that we're going to eventually have to prove is that if I made a parallel line, okay, I like to extend these out also so I can see it. All right, I can find a Z right there, and I can find a Z right here. Okay, so I'm going to call these angles 1 and 2. So angle B equals angle 1. Angle C equals angle 2. And that's because if the lines are parallel, what type of angles are in the corners of the Z? Alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so we're going to put those two ideas together to try and determine why the three angles add to 180, and we will definitely be going over this again as review, and this is one of the 4-point problems on our test. Okay, this was on the homework. Are they congruent, or are they parallel or not? And it hinged upon if any of the sets of angles are congruent. So corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles. These should all be equal. And then we had same side interior equaled 180. Okay, so if these were parallel, I should be able to slide this angle up to that angle. Okay, but 21 doesn't equal 22. So these are not parallel. The corresponding angles were not equal. Same idea here. I could alternate interior this up to here, but 124 and 55 does not equal 180. So these are not parallel. I could alternate interior 32 down to here. 32 plus 148 equals 180. So these are parallel. Okay, so that's kind of the thought process that we're going through. Right now, you should ask for the homework number 7. You should ask for the construction packet. This link down here is in your email. You can click on this to go through all the constructions. I will be talking about which ones you should expect to see in the test. Okay, I'm sure this video wasn't as exciting as others you've seen on YouTube, but I appreciate if you watch the whole thing. Don't forget to subscribe. Stock Money out.